You got a lot of ex-WWE good people at TNA. You got the Tommy Dreamers. You got the Gail Kims. You got a lot of veterans down there, bro. Why not have that become your developmental territory, bro?
Let's talk about this interesting development as far as WWE and TNA having a little bit of a talent exchange, so to speak, when it comes to what we saw recently on an episode of NXT with Jordynne Grace coming out with her TNA Knockouts Championship, challenging current NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez to a NXT title match at Battleground. So basically WWE is creating their own Forbidden Door with a lot more buzz going on with it, because right now Forbidden Door, you have Ospreay and Swerve Strickland on one end, and then you have, you know, a big match as far as Battleground, kind of like WWE's version of Forbidden Door, what it seems like. And you also have Ethan Page, who just left AEW a few months ago. Now he's debuted in NXT, so it looks like he's going to be going against Trick Williamson as well. Man, just Vince and the Vince McMahon era, you know, both of y'all working for Vince McMahon. I'll start with you, Vince. Would we have ever seen like a second to third tier promotion in the heyday of the Attitude Era come to, I mean, you had ECW come, but it was more like a favor, so to speak. One, speak to us about the ECW exchange, but from a standpoint of a big, you know, kind of second or third tier promotion coming in and having an exchange. How would Vince McMahon have thought about that in the Attitude Era?
Chris, could it be more than that? I am thinking it's much, much more than that. Bro, I'm always up on my soapbox. Name me 3 people from NXT who have ever gotten over on the main stage. It's a factory system, bro, and it's not working. They're making wrestlers and nobody ever gets over. On top of that, bro, it's costing them millions and millions and millions of dollars. So they just got taken over by a new company that's looking at red and black and what's making money and what's not making money. Bro, you got a lot of ex-WWE good people at TNA. You got the Tommy Dreamers. You got the Gail Kims. You got a lot of veterans down there, bro. Why not have that become your developmental territory, bro? Cut the NXT expense, all the money that's costing. Bro, come on, man. They know nobody's getting over from NXT. They know it. If you've got this built-in system down there with people you know and you trust, and you could save millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, why not go that route? And I think this may be why they're testing the waters. I 1000% believe that.
Very interesting. I'm going to get your take on that here, EC3, but I do want to ask you this, Vince. What was Vince McMahon's motive in working with Paul Heyman back when they had the talent exchange with ECW, when Sabu almost fell to his death jumping off of that ladder back then?
I think a lot of it is what I'm saying now. Okay. It was the same situation. You know, Paul Lee and Bruce Pritchard were very tight. Okay. Let Paul Lee develop talent. We'll take his talent. If we have somebody that's not getting over, we'll send him to ECW. It was the same arrangement, bro. The exact same arrangement.
Gotcha. I mean, business-wise, are you in favor of that, Vince? You think it's a good business move?
1,000%. Yeah. 1,000%. Yes. Yeah.
What do you think, EC3?
I think collaboration is the key to creating great art. # Rick Rubin, the art of creative. Provides interesting options. Is at no expense to maybe, NXT being the third brand, so to speak, where it can be more of like a I don't know, a niche or a cult favorite where it doesn't have the same pressures as maybe a Raw or a SmackDown would, being the mainstream shows. So I think they can play within that realm a little bit more. I don't know if it segues to the main roster. I know what Vince is saying. It makes sense from a business perspective, but I think they're very particular on figuring out how to train people from the ground up as far as talents, and they're trying to find how that works. They haven't. I can tell you how, but I don't believe TNA would become a developmental. I do believe maybe it would be sort of kind of a strategic alliance, a little brother sort of situation. But I also think with the way the WWE produces matches, wants their talents to work, look, and act, TNA, the same with NWA, definitely with AEW, there's a lot of indie tendencies a lot of wrestlers don't have till they go through a WWE system that they can't shake. And sometimes they're so far gone they can never shake them either. So it's like where they develop the theory that independent wrestlers seem to have a ton of bad habits, maybe we're better off training people from scratch. That obviously worked on, 3 occasions? Roman, Bray, and they came from the business. I mean, Braun to an extent. I'm just trying to think of who came from no background that's become a big star that's had a solid run.
Well, Big E was world champion.
Yes, Big E's one. I Brock came from WWE. That doesn't count that class.
Gargano.
Gargano's an independent.
He had a big run. He had a big run at WWE.
Where did he come from? D1 basketball playing center? Shut up.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, whoop. Had a big run, Chris, right? Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
I think they like the idea of having this complex and this factory. So I don't think TNA would become the developmental, but I see why Vince would say that. And maybe it does make strategic sense, but then it's going to come about them. Well, they're probably just going to, wouldn't they just buy TNA and put their people in the places? While Tommy and Gail are incredible at what they do, the trickle-down effect of agents with WWE experience lacks everywhere else, because I've been everywhere else, where there's certain things they want out of talents that do not get satisfied via independent wrestling.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. EC3 is. I don't think TNA is going to be a developmental either, but I do think it's. I do think it's interesting. I think it doesn't seem like that's something that Vince McMahon would have ever considered. As far as you know, Vince, did Vince McMahon ever consider working with not ECW, but ROH or TNA at all? No. Why do you think that's the case? Because even mentioning X people, and that's something I've noticed with commentary now. Like they'll even they've mentioned Jericho before. You know what I mean? Like, and he's an AEW. Cole doesn't have any issue with mentioning people from who's in other promotions now who made an impact in WWE. Now, from what you remember, why does this seem like Vince McMahon basically was just out of sight, out of mind, and just everybody was blacklisted? They left WWE. You couldn't even mention them on commentary. Why do you think that was the case?
Tyrant. I think he was a tyrant in power, and he had the God complex. Where I think Triple H, if there's no threat to the empire, and let's be honest, nothing is a threat to the WWE's empire, he'd be far more opening to the empire having provinces as opposed to conquering the territories, so to speak, if that makes sense. Where they can independently function and work on their own, but at the same time, we can utilize them for interesting business and propositions and possibly talent exchanges. Whereas at the end of the day, though, they're going to be there and they're never going to challenge us while we remain on top. So I think as long as he's still the top dog, he's far more willing to have allegiances throughout the industry and kind of have his hands in everything. I think that's a very smart way to play it.
Yeah. What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, it's I don't know, bro. It's interesting because we have to start thinking differently than they're not the WWE anymore.
Yeah.
They are answering to other people, bro, and you don't know how those other people are thinking, what they're seeing. But bro, what you do know this. Here's the bottom line, bro. It's dollars and cents.
Mm-hmm.
It's dollars and cents. So if they're looking at NXT, man, and the cost, and you know, if they're not making money back on that through a television deal, whatever the case may be, they're not going to have the ties to it that the WWE would have had. You know what I'm saying? They're going to look at it strictly as business.
I could see them cutting the dress amount because they do not need 100 people there. It's like AEW doesn't need a 100-person roster. Hell, NWA doesn't need half the people we bring in. Like, so if they needed to cut costs, I think they could do it within. But I do think they like the shining jewel, the project that is the Performance Center. It's a really cool building. It's nice. It's a nice headquarters for sure. I think they can reevaluate it, but it's going to be there. But they should probably reevaluate how to make a star in wrestling. And then I think Triple H knows that because everything he did through the heydays of NXT, the people got over. It was the main roster that killed him. Now they're coming up. He doesn't have as much input on who's coming up and how they're coming up, or maybe he's inheriting something he doesn't know or understand, or the talents just aren't built for the moments because it is a different ballgame when you get to the road.
Business-wise, what does NXT bring to the table?
I can't imagine, short of a TV deal, like I can't imagine knowing how hard it is to sell tickets in this day and age. It's not going to be the houses and it's not going to be weekly TV.
Yeah.
You know, like Raw is going to sell you 12 to 20,000 tickets. Does NXT even sell tickets or do the people just come? I don't know that. TV deal aside, probably just that, but I don't know if a TV deal can fund, you know, living wages for 100 people where 20 probably even have a sniff of a chance of making a name for themselves in wrestling, despite how great their athletic credentials are or how influencer-esque they look online. Wrestling, getting over in wrestling, hard. But maybe TKO sees a way. They're a business that's invested where they might bring in their attempts at trying to build stars in wrestling, which may, because it's so different, work, or maybe because it's such a giant corporation and entertainment's so weird and wrestling is so much different than anything from UFC to acting. Like what it requires, it might be a complete crapshoot.
Yeah, interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I would also say that the NWA champion would happily oblige and come kick everybody's ass. Yeah, sorry.
EC3 to NXT.
Oh, no, I did that. No, I'm not. I ain't going to the yellow ropes again.
Why wouldn't you become NXT champion?
I can do that too, and I'll meld it in my own title. But I just do know this, that in Triple H's office, I believe there's 2 championships that hang on his wall. One being the Winged Eagle Championship, and the other being the original NWA Worlds Heavyweight Champion chip. So who is the one that has that? Who's the one building all the bridges? Who's the one running roughshod over the entire industry? Who's champion everywhere he goes? Who's just slaying it? Who jumps off of an airplane from Japan to do a freaking podcast with Vince Russo? A guy who's got his tentacles and everything too.
Wow.
You know what I have to say to that, bro?
Yeet.
Okay. What is the other thing at Tony Storm?
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. I was actually I actually didn't mean to call you Dave. I actually meant to call Hollywood is another name.
Hollywood. Yes.
Yeah, so all right, Hollywood. What do you got to say about that?
I got it. Oh, wait, Hollywood, you want to hear from?
Give me a yeet.
Okay.
Yeet.
Okay.
No yeet.
Oh.
No yeet.
You got to do it like that, though, Chris. It's yeet. No yeet. Yeet.
I thought you already had it chopped and screwed.
I do. I got it both ways, bro. I got it both ways.
Just give me a straight yeet. Give me a straight yeet.
You just want a yeet. Just a yeet.
Yeet.
There we go. Yes.
Yeet.
I'm eating what EC3 just said. I think it was well said. So.